Hello everyone. Today in this session, I am going to walk you through the Kubernetes architecture. As you all are aware of that, the Kubernetes architecture is the complex in understanding and learning as well. So I am trying to explain you in the best practical way by taking such a scenario which could able to make it understand in a better way. I'm sure that after completion of this scenario or this session, you could able to understand what exactly the components will work within the cluster and how the resources or components within the Kubernetes cluster between the masters and nodes, how the communication will be happen, how they speak one to one. Okay, then let's start our session Kubernetes overview. As you all are aware of that, the Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration system for automating application deployments. So whatever the applications deployments, which includes the containers, the containers in the deployments used by the Dockers only. So the Dockers and Kubernetes is well versed with the to be most communication platform. It's like it's been the containers which was made after Docker and Docker to the Kubernetes. So these both are well versed with the application development in containerization platform, and later those containers will be deployed into the Kubernetes container cluster orchestration system. And it was originally designed by Google. As you all know that Google is a one of the topmost organization in the world, and it has been written, this Kubernetes language has been written in a Go language and is now maintained by the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is a non-profit organization. And as soon as in the architecture we will see the etcd, which is a Kubernetes built-in data store, which all of the states, all the status of the pods or deployments or application controllers, and whatever the native states, actual states, desired states, all of these states are stored in the Kubernetes inbuilt database called etcd. Even that etcd also used by and maintained by this Cloud Native Computing Foundation only, CNCF. And the first version released from the Google is Kubernetes version 1.0, is released on July 21st and 2015. Okay, let's move to the next slide. See, in Kubernetes mostly we have in the cluster environment, in the Kubernetes cluster environment, we have in the few of the components which drives the application navigation among this cluster and the master machine. We can discuss all this way. The main component is controllers, schedulers, and API server and etcd. So let's discuss about the controllers. What does controllers do within the master node, within the master machine? See, these controllers are the core abstraction used to build Kubernetes. Here, once you have declared the desired state of your cluster using the API server, that means I will make you to understand in a better way why in the coming slides, which I have able to explain in the architecture pattern only. So now let's discuss in a theoretical way. Later we can discuss in the practical way, which is in the how they could able to speak one another and one to one in the best communication ever. We could able to understand it in further slides. Now, theoretical way, declare the desired state of your cluster using the API server. That means in Kubernetes, whatever the service we are going to deploy, that means everything will be called on API calls only. That means we will write the manifesto. The term is called manifest in Kubernetes. In the manifest, we will write JSON or YAML files. So in this session, I am going to present you through the JSON files only. JSON files, we will define how the defined pods or deployments or any of the configuration files, what we are going to in a security manner, and services, pods and containers, replication controllers and replicas, and everything should be maintained in the form of YAML file, which we call it as an upper level. I call it as a manifest. By using that manifest, which we are making the communication through the API server, that API server will communicate to the controller then. So this means see the controllers, the main functionality of the controllers is it will ensure that the cluster's current state, That means as soon as we deployed this manifest to the API server, the current state, that means in which desired state we want those manifests to be deployed in the cluster. That means initially we have certain state. That certain state should be monitored by the controllers only. The desired state by continuously watching the state of API server. So the API server, as soon as we deployed this manifest file into the API server through the API call, it maintains that state till end. That means, for suppose initially we want in certain state, whatever the application, whatever the pods we are running, it should be in a running state only. That means it should be in a good condition. The status should be in good condition. That condition should be maintained till. That means till the application running, till end of this application running platform. That means reacting to any changes. This controller's job is to at last every running of the container, it will maintain the status. It keep on monitoring the node level. This means kubelet. Kubelet is maintaining every state always. Operate using simple loop that continuously checks the current state of the cluster against the desired state of the cluster. See, actually with the current state means it is variation happened, because if any of the container, in the pods we will define the containers. In the containers, if anything is happened or anything, any CMD instructions or any of the volume breakdown or any of the security control access or permission access, authorization access, it will be based on that the status will be failed or status will be called back off or some other errors would be occurred. That would be status as a current state. What is the desired state? The desired state should be always running. Okay. Then the controller job is it will compare current state with the desired state. That means our desired state should be running state. Our current state should be will be whatever the file state or memory issue or loopback issue or any RAM issue or this container CMD instruction, and it is unfortunately exited with certain code. So these are all comes under current state. That means when the controller find out these states, when it is comparing current state to the desired state, it should not be in not equal mode. That means it should always be equal. Current state should be equal running and the desired state should be running. So then only our applications would be run safely without any issues. See, for better understanding, I have mentioned here some simple loop which is pseudocode. If we see while true till true, it should be true at any cost. It's like for x we define it as a current state, for y we define it as a desired state. If x equal to y, return do nothing, because everything is good. The current state is equal to desired state, equal to everything is fine, then we don't want to do anything. The controller also don't want to do anything. It simply stored that current state and desired state are fine. Okay, you simply it will communicate with the API server, then API server will communicate that status to the etcd, which is a default database store of the Kubernetes. If else do task to get to y, else what will happen? What will happen? That will take care of other process what to do further. Okay, this is what controllers will do in the architecture. Here scheduler. The scheduler means as soon as we deploy the server, the API server will communicate to the etcd database store. Once the database store is recorded the initial state, our desired state will be intimated to the our inbuilt data store, which is etcd, and informed back to the API server. The API server will communicate to the scheduler now. The scheduler job is the API server will tell to the scheduler, yes scheduler, our pods, I am going to get the new pod to be running in the cluster. Please take these pods and choose appropriate node and deploy these pods to the required healthy nodes. Then the scheduler will take care of that our pods which we are going to get the new application. It watches API server for new pods, then which we discussed now, and assign node to the work. The scheduler job is to find the appropriate healthy node, the best node to work efficiently on these pods which was received from the API server. Then the scheduler decides where to run this pod, what is a healthy pod, what is a healthy node. Then it return back to the API server. Okay, API server, then scheduler informed to the API server like, yes, API server, I have informed one of the healthy node to run this pod, he will take care of that. You can make a better communication with that kubelet of that corresponding node. Okay, scheduler job is to this, it always watches for the best node to assign pods to work on it based on its policies. So, the scheduler itself by default, the scheduler itself, it has an inbuilt policies to identify the best node to deploy this pod, to delegate this pod to the better node, the best node. Okay, this is what about scheduler in Kubernetes. Okay, let's talk about the main component of the Kubernetes, the API server. In Kubernetes, everything is an API call, as I said earlier of the first session, first slide. Now, in Kubernetes, everything is an API call served by the Kubernetes API server, which is kube-API server, which is by default. It's like predefined pods which we are having. It's like a kubectl, and we are getting these pods and any of by default services. The kube-API server will be deployed while it comes with the installation. Then API server is a gateway to an etcd data store. Only the communicator who makes an interaction between etcd in the master machine is the one and only component is called API server. Only API server can able to communicate and interact. It could able to speak only with the etcd, not controller or scheduler. If the any wants to state or any of the state change or any desired state change, any of the informer or scheduler or controller, any of them needs to make any changes into the desired pods or replicas, it should make a communication to the API server. Only the API server only should able to communicate to the etcd, which is the default data store, which is stored in the form of key value pair. That is what etcd. Okay, and to update the state of Kubernetes cluster, you make API calls to the API server describing your desired state. That's what we discussed earlier as well, because whatever the pod or deployments which we write in the form of manifest file to the JSON or YAML, so that we will define it at our required state, our desired state we will define. Then we will communicate with the API server. When we run this kubectl, kube controller, which could make an interaction, we are informing the desired state should be like this to the API server. The same information we have given to API server will carry forward to the etcd. Then etcd will come back to the API server. API server then it will distribute the task scheduler to select a good pod, good node, the best node, and take this node and deploy it to the node. Okay, this is what API server communication is between this. Okay, and now now let's discuss in a practical way how they could able to speak one to one in a best way. I will try to explain you in best way so that this architecture is seems very important to know, to understand those who are in a DevOps engineer or Kubernetes, which is the best suitable for the I will recommend to this like a beginner and intermediate level, which would able to in most of the interviews it is with the best question, because you could able to answer it properly if you could understand it but in a better way. So I will try to explain in a best understanding manner. Please let me know if you have any doubts in the comment section, then I will give you the answers as soon as I require. Okay, then see, this is the kubectl. This is the command line interface for the Kubernetes, which is kubectl, which is in local workstation. This YAML or JSON script. So you can write in a YAML or JSON file as well. So both of them we can able to. So this is called as a manifest file. We can say I wrote this sample files in a YAML file. YAML file is the most suitable, and because in other tools which we compare like in the Ansible and everything templates, or the best approach is to write in a YAML script, since it is a indentation pattern, not tab based pattern. So that's why I select this YAML file only in order to create this manifest file into the Kubernetes and deploy these pods and the services. I will walk you through the sample section by writing this pod and service level. I will explain you in the real-time scenario. I have one scenario in real time, then I will make it in a practical way. Okay, here kubectl. Okay, now let me walk you through the way which could able to in a practical way. It's like yeah, I'm using Cygwin terminal here. See, I'm having this session currently, which is I'm having these two files, which is pods.yaml and services.yaml. Let me show you this. Okay, see, let me explain you about this. Okay, let me big. Okay, here API version. Okay, this is a kind in API version. The API version means the API server which we are using, because we are making communication through the API only, through the API server. So that is the initial section. Whatever we write in kubectl, apply and anything, the first component, the first resource in the Kubernetes will communicate to the API server only. This is what. See, wait 1 minute. Yes, as soon as we do here kubectl, it will first communicate to the API server. So here we write API server. The version is app/v1 for the pods. Okay, here I wrote deployment, because the deployment on top of replicas, which could able to the replica set by default. Deployment is which is the latest level. In earlier they used to replication controller and replica set. Now if we use in deployment, it is having inbuilt features with the replica set and replication controller as well. They are a little bit advanced. So nowadays we are using deployment only. Okay, the metadata name web app. So this name is this deployment name is the web app. So it will use to identify this web app. So now we can say what does this part is about. Then we can say this is the web app. Okay. Then we will lead as a spec section. Specs means specifications. So we will define the specifications. Okay. Here replicas. If you see in the replicas, when we deployed, if any of the pod is dead, or any of the call loop back off error, or any of the memory issue or RAM issue, everything found, it got dead. Then as soon as the pod is dead, it's automatically the deployment job is to the kind which you mentioned deployment, which includes the replicas as well. So that is the reason by default we are launching 3 replicas here. We are having 3 replicas. So at any cost, at any time we want to get 3 replicas. That means this application which we have under container section, which we are having container section image, this application at any time we should be running it on the 3 pods. We should be this application with 3 pods. If you kill one pod, again it will rebuild the third pod. If we delete 2 pods, the 2 pods will be created automatically. That means there is 3. If you delete 2, it will rebuild to 2. Then 2 plus 1 3. If you unfortunately killed 1, then 2. And this it will rebuild again that single pod as well. Then 2 plus 1 3. That means it will always should maintain 3 replica sets. Okay. And here selector. This selector we use to match the labels with respect to the service. We are having a services. Okay. Let me show you that as well. Services. So the services is a set of pods which could able to communicate to the multiple pods, and it can act as a proxy to maintain and to communicate to the multiple pods through the one service. That means how could able to the service will communicate to the pod, or service will communicate to the this deployment section. In the deployment itself it includes pod as well. Okay. For this service, how does the service know to which pod it needs to communicate? Then we will define it as a since we have written this selector in this services, we will define it as a selector. Selector name is app web app. Here in the selector is there app web app. That means we are accessing this service with respect to this port. This when we access this IP with respect to this port, it will, as soon as we trigger from the browser, it identifies this selector. It looks this corresponding this label with the corresponding pod. Is there any pod name available with this web app, then it will identify this one. Yes, it is having this similar name. Then because it will identify, because the service needs to get an application with respect to this label only. As soon as it checks and we triggering this app with respect to this port, this node port, it will communicate to this selector with respect to this web app, and again this web app will find out this corresponding ports. Is there any pod with respect to this name which equals to this selector? Yes, there is a name which matches this web app. Yes, okay. Then the control will come to this pod and it will try to read these instructions. It try to read these instructions, app web app, okay, specifications. It goes to container because it search for application. Containers, in containers name web app, okay. Image, yes, it has an image. Then it will identify, it will look into this Docker image which is there in Docker Hub. First, now this Docker concept. Now, as soon as while we are running the Docker run command, what does it happen? If the pulled image, if it is not available in our local machine, it tries to pull from the remote, which is nothing but a Docker registry, okay, which is nothing but a Docker Hub. Since as I don't have this image in my local machine, since what does it do? It will pick it, it will invoke from the remote machine and make my application run within this deployment section, okay. So this is what. So let's see in this now practical way, okay. Let me see. Okay, it means my Minikube is stopped. Let me restart it in again. Start. Please let me pause this video for some time. It will take some time. Okay. Yes, our Minikube is running. Let's see the status. Minikube is running on a Minikube status. Yes, our Minikube is host is running and a kubelet is running and the API server is running, which we have now. If API server is running, here the API server is running. Now we could able to pass the our deployments, our pods, our service, everything into the we can talk explicitly to the API server if it is running state, okay. And kubelet is also running, which is one of the component in the node. Inside of the node, this kubelet component will be resided, okay. Let's discuss about the kubelet as well. It is a very it's a nice component. Its functionality is a little bit interesting. Let's walk you through that as well, okay. Let's see our files which we have written. And now I just modified the file called cat pods.yaml. Here earlier I just changed the replication one because for our practice purpose it's fine to understand it. It's a more precise manner because in order to propagate with multiple replicas, it's a little bit clumsy to understand in a practical way. So since we are trying to understand this architecture in a better way, so I just optimized this architecture with a little bit clear manner. So that is the reason I just changed the replication to the one level, okay. Now services. Now let me apply this with this command kubectl apply -f dot. Here what does it mean? Here kubectl it means kube controller, because it is a communicator. It is a communicator to the cluster. So since, let me show you the architecture here, okay. Now we are at this stage. Now we are here kubectl, right? Now we are at this stage kubectl, here local workstation. So this mine is okay. Yeah, Now we are at this situation now, kubectl apply -f and here kubectl. Now I am here. Okay, whenever we are trying to communicate to the API server now, that means our written scripts are here. What are those? Pods YAML and services YAML. These two files are here. Now we are deploying these two files to the API server through interaction between by the help of kubectl, kube controller. It is the communication way to the API server. Okay. Now let's discuss about this command kubectl. Kubectl is a binary for the Kubernetes to interact with the API server. Okay. Apply means we are deploying our manifest to the cluster. Okay. And -f, whatever the file we changed. For suppose we for now, for explicitly for the practical scenario, I am writing this pods and services file only, and later tomorrow and in the project in the real time, which we have used to implement these multiple pods and multiple services as well. In the we can write secret files and config map files and everything we could be able to write. And at that time, if we make any one YAML file, any of the changes or any of the instructions in the YAML syntax or anything, any of the new parameters which we have added or any of the new container added within the deployment section, at the time we can explicitly apply like this pods.yaml, or else we can define like this. Okay. As of now, we don't have any changes, everything is clear. So that's the reason I am applying these YAML files. Make sure that Kubernetes, the manifest will be created only YAML and JSON file which could accept. So since I am doing dot in the Linux, dot means which will identify the current directory. So we have these two files in our current directory only. Session 1 we are having these two files. So these YAML files taken care by the kubectl, and it will make a communication to the API server. Now we are asking to API server, please take our requirement as a desired state. Please make it clear, as a desired state. We have written our desired state here, services and pods. Our desired state should be whatever we required, whatever our requirements, whatever our initial requirements to API server to communicate to the etcd and among all the components in the cluster. We are telling that in the form of manifest. We are writing the manifest file. We are telling this cluster to, I have this requirement with this application. This application should be run with respect to this label, and if anything container has been gone away or anything crashed, then I have to be always running with the replicas 1. Okay, and the services match labels with the service label, and everything should be mentioned because it is our desired state. We are telling our API server to please maintain our desired state all over the way. Then the API server will take care of our desired state. Then we'll do the follow. Okay, let's tell. Till now we didn't inform to the API server to take care of our manifesto. Okay, now I am telling. See, what does it happen? See, deployment dot apps web app created and service slash fleetman web app created. Okay, this is the service we have written. See, I told you, right? Deployment dot app slash web app here, deployment slash app slash web app here. Let me show you, deployment slash app slash web app. Okay, this is the path. This is the path for services. Services fleetman web app. See, service fleetman web app, service fleetman web app. This is the name actually. Okay, now let's go to the architecture. Okay, API server. Now we told API server. What does API server do now? This API server will validate our changes. See, validate our changes. Is our manifest which we have written in our YAML file, is this right? Any syntax issue or anything is fine, or do we have that requirement? So it will analyze all these changes. It will analyze all these changes and explain to the etcd, please maintain this state, we have certain requirement, and everything should be informed to the etcd. Now see how the communication will happen API server to the etcd. See now we are here, now our state is here API server. See now what will happen. Cluster store etcd, this cluster store etcd, this is a Kubernetes built-in data store etcd, which will store in the form of key value pair. That means etcd have all the state of pods or deployments or services, all the state, whatever the state which is maintaining with the cluster, all will be stored in the etcd only. See, it will communicate API server to etcd. API server, here API server will have a communicator to the cluster store. Communication happened. Now let's see our command. What is our status of pods? kubectl get all. Let's see now, for now. Okay, see, as I said earlier, we have wrote deployment, right? Since we have, see here deployment, we have deployment. Let's see here deployment, apps web app ready, it is running successfully and up to date, available, yes, it's an available, because we have asked to maintain always to be run one. So that's what available. Currently we have one availability, okay, one deployment. Later replica set, which I told you, the replicas we requested one to maintain at every time, okay. Replica set maintain desired, we desired one only, the parameter which we mentioned there is a desired number, so desired replicas, current one only, ready one, that one is ready, because that one should be always ready. If you delete that also, let me tell you that scenario after this explanation of this architecture, okay. And service, this service Kubernetes service is a built-in. Whenever we install Kubernetes setup, by default we have this cluster IP, okay, service. On top of that we have Fleetman Web API, which we have mentioned ourselves, Fleetman Web App, this one, Fleetman. This is communicated with the node port, because node port means which could able to access this service through the outer world, okay. This through the outer world we could get access with respect to this node port, okay. See what does this, how we are going to access. These 30080 will define as the external port, which gives us a node port, this 30. This 80 is this service within the container, is a container, 80 is a container. That means the application which we have deployed with respect to the deployment, this is a one Docker application, right? This is a Docker image that will run inside the 80. We will do port mapping, if you remember, in Docker, while we are running Docker run the name -dit -p port forwarding. For the left side we will define as a host machine forwarding, and the right side container port, so that we will access this container port application to the outer world. Similarly, this service we can access through the 30080. Make sure that these port numbers 30080 it should be accessed through the in Kubernetes. It is only accessible through the 30,000 to 32,767 only. Any of the port which we can mention between these numbers only, not other than that, it won't accept. That is Kubernetes, inbuilt Kubernetes by given to us to define those ports only, 30,000 to 32,767. Okay. Now pod, the original pod, where our application is original running in pod, in node. 1 is 1, everything is working fine, 1 it's the running status. Restarts, no, we didn't restart it, right? If it will restart, when if any issue occurs, then it will restart. Okay. Now let's go back to the architecture. See, now do you know where this status comes from? Status ready, this status desired state and current state, which are get from the cluster store. This API server, we requested kubectl to communicate our manifest file to API server. Then API server will get a communication with the cluster store, and as soon as whatever we required, our desired state should be stored in cluster store. Again, after validation occurs, it sends to the etcd. Etcd comes back to the API server again. Then etcd tells to API server that, hey API server, I have this status check and everything notified to my memory. Please take care of this. Please take care of these pods. I have this status. Please take care of this, and don't forget to update me any of the changes occurred to those manifest. Then API server accepts those requests from the etcd and takes care of these files, and API server will inform to the scheduler. What does scheduler do? Hey, then API server inform to scheduler, hey scheduler, I have this manifest file. Please take care of this manifest file and deploy on healthy node. Then scheduler will act as, listen to this API server, okay, then let me do my work. Then let me analyze the healthy pod. See what will happen, controller, scheduler. See, like this the communication happen. The API server will communicate to the scheduler. The scheduler will tell, okay API server, I will get it communicated to my node, my cluster environment, and let it done for you the work. Let me to deploy that manifest to the healthier node. Then scheduler will choose among these nodes, choose the best node which is healthier. Then the scheduler will inform this manifest file to the associated node and ask them to, hey node, please deploy this manifest to the application as requested by the API server. Then node will take care of that, and node will given to the requested port to the kubelet. In each node we have kubelet, kubeproxy, docker daemon. These are the three components will be resided in each node in the cluster. Okay. Please make it noted. Please make it a note. In each node, we are having kubelet, kubeproxy, docker daemon. Nothing but a Docker engine. Docker engine. Why do we use Docker engine? Because we mentioned in the deployment file this image. This image is nothing but a Docker image. This image is coming from the Docker hub only. So that is the reason. In order to run this Docker image, we should have Docker daemon. Okay. Now the Docker daemon, where do we get? In each node we are having the Docker daemon. Okay. Here in this Docker daemon, the kubelet will take care of that request. Okay. Let me do my job. Then kubelet will take care of that manifest file, and kubelet will ask Docker daemon to run the image. Then kubelet will tell to Docker daemon to, hey Docker, you have one request from our master machines, from our master machine. Please make it run. This is the internal communication, how they speak together. Then Docker daemon will receive that request from the kubelet and will make a trigger to the Docker daemon. How does that Docker daemon will run? With respect to the service which we have given port. Okay, the Docker container, what do we have in inbuilt port? 80. Okay, let me run on this port. Like this, the Docker daemon will understand this manifest file inside the node and it will trigger. And again, the status will get. Again, now the API server will communicate to the kubelet. Okay, now the API server, because now the scheduler won't talk, because the scheduler job is to schedule the manifest to the appropriate node, which is nothing but a healthier node. Then the API server will take care of that again. The API server will communicate to the kubelet, and again, hey kubelet, what about my pod? What about my manifest file? Is it running? Is it running? If yes, please let me analyze and please give me the status of the pod. Then kubelet will inform to the API server, hey yes API server, I'm having it running in my node only. It is running successfully. Then it will give appropriate details. Kube status running, desired running, any issues? No. if appropriate issues are there, every report will given to the given by the kubelet to the API server. Then API server will communicate those status, because initial state is a desired state, now it is a running state, because that running state should be equal to the current state, because the current state is equal to desired state as of now. So that is the reason the state should be informed to the API server by the kubelet. Then API server, what should we do? API server, again API server should communicate to the etcd cluster store. Then the etcd having the communication, the proper communication is having, okay, I have updated the current state equal to desired state, okay, please take care this request further. Then API server will get back, and again the API server will communicate to the client, that means kubectl. So when we get the kubectl get all, in order to get this information out for us, this is the communication will happen. What we discuss now from kubelet will discuss with the Docker daemon, then the kubelet will invoke, then API server will invoke to the kubelet, then kubelet will, and vice versa, the kubelet will inform to the API server, then API server will communicate to the etcd, then etcd again after updation happens in etcd, then again it will give feedback to the API server, then API server will get back to us with proper results which was given by the kubelet with a node. Then we are getting this status, everything, service, name, deployment, everything, we are getting this status we are getting. Okay, here again kubeproxy is there. There is a kubeproxy which is used to maintain, because we are having one pod is running, for suppose node 1, node 2, node 3 is there, our scheduler assigns this pod to node 1, okay, or node 3, we can discuss with node 3. Okay, in node 3 there is a pod is there, the pod is assigned. You know, in Kubernetes each pod is having unique IP address assigned by kubeproxy. Kubeproxy will take care of all the networking. In each pod we are having Ethernet device, Ethernet service, that Ethernet service, and we can create a custom namespace for each pod as well. So based on this communication network and Ethernet communication and network namespace will these mappings, this providing unique IP address to the each pod, it's all communications taken care by the kubeproxy only, and making it communication to the pod to pod communication, and kubeproxy will analyze. And again that is a network concept, so we can discuss further while we are discussing with the Kubernetes networking architecture. I will get you through there. Okay, now, okay, this controller we have remanded, right? I will cover this controller as well for one concept. This controller is making, because it needs to always monitor the states, pod status, which we discussed now only, this desired state should be equal to the current state. Then the controller will communicate to the API server, and again API server will communicate to the etcd. And again controller purpose is to, which we are having replication controller or any namespace controller, these are all taken care by the controller only. Okay, for this communication is like this. This scheduler will keep on maintaining these nodes always. And again, for suppose, let's see what do this controller will do now. In practical, I will show you the practical. kubectl delete. Okay, let me delete this pod. Copy. See, now I am deleting one pod. That means the service will take care. Again, the API server will intimate to the etcd, and again this process occur. See, I am deleting one pod. As we have requested one pod, we are deleting one pod. See, okay. Again, we can see kubectl get pods. See, again it's running. Please observe this ID web app HNXDQ, here HM6MK. See again running. That means what we say earlier, replicas. Always, if any my web app is down, always maintain one application, always maintain one pod. Again it's mountain pod. You know what is the communication happen again here? Let's discuss that. Let's discuss that as well. See, as soon as I delete it from this, right, again it will inform API server. Hey API server, I have one pod issue, so that I have deleted my application. I have deleted my pod. Oh, okay, you deleted? Okay, then let me update to my store, internal store. Then API server will intimate to the API store. etcd will take care of that again. Okay, it's deleted. Please, it should maintain in the desired state. It will delete it, so it maintain in the desired state, because we have the replicas instruction to maintain always always maintain one pod. Okay, again then API server will inform to scheduler, and the scheduler will inform to pod. Oh, again kubelet will take care of this one, maintain. Okay, and again here controller is there, right? Controller, as we have mentioned the replicas, it will monitor, hey, we have replicas. Since the application is deleted, the controller will speak to API server, then API server will make to a communication to the scheduler and kubelet. The kubelet will discuss with the controller, hey, we are having the replicas instruction, please maintain one pod always. So that's what it happened. The kubelet again, it will trigger to the Docker daemon, hey Docker, we are having one instruction provided by the controller. Controller is analyzing us, please maintain one pod, please wake up and maintain one pod regularly. We are having that instruction is there from the controller. You should maintain always one running pod. So that is what the communication happened. This controller take care of this replication controllers and maintain the desired state and actual current state, and the scheduler the healthy pods to choose to given this running pod job to the appropriate node, and cluster store is to store all of the states, whatever the node state, whatever the pod state, whatever the container state, deployment state, every state and status should be informed to the API server through these components, rest of the components, and then API server will directly communicate to the etcd and store those current status and desired status appropriately in the form of key value pair. Okay, so this is what the Kubernetes is architecture. So now we are having this application is running, right? Let us access this application through the browser. Yes, now kube we have written. So we should now access with respect to the port we have written, right? 30080. This is the external port. If you see 30080 is the external port, 80 is the internal port of container. Okay, 30080 we should access. See, kube hyphen, this is the name which we have changed, custom domain name it is kube hyphen arc. Okay, yes. Yes, this is the application which is fleet management, which is a tracking system. Actually, this application which I have taken from one of the best uses for a better understanding way, only for a better demonstration. See, kubearc 30080. Now if it is anything killed, now I have deleted this pod, again I have deleted this pod as well, again I have deleted. Whatever, how many times, irrespective to the number of deletions happen, this application never be down because of this instruction replicas 1. Because of this instruction, the application would never be down. Okay, this is what about the Kubernetes architecture. Okay, let's discuss further on the next sessions. Let's discuss about in next classes Kubernetes networking. It's like container to container networking or pod to pod networking, and service to pod networking and internet to service networking. Let's discuss this in next classes. Thank you. Thanks for watching this video. Please let me know any of the queries in the comment section. I will give you the response as soon as I can.